A Fox News alert, Donald Trump holding a rally with running mate Mike Pence in Cleveland. And Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump doing battle in the battleground states as the days tick down to Election Day. And good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Banderas, and this is the Fox Report. Clinton appeared this afternoon in Pittsburgh alongside her running mate, Tim Kaine, which, by the way, these two have not made an appearance together in some 6 weeks. Today, a critical day for her. Right now, we are awaiting Donald Trump's remarks at a rally in Cleveland with his running mate, Mike Pence, and that'll make it his third battleground state of the day, along with Virginia and Pennsylvania. This morning, he was in historic Gettysburg, where he unveiled his 100-day plan for a Trump White House. And should he be sworn in as president come January, here are his plans.
First, a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Second, a hiring freeze on all federal employees to reduce federal workforce through attrition, exempting military, public safety, and public health. A requirement that for every new federal regulation, 2 existing regulations must be eliminated. A 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials becoming lobbyists after they leave government service. Cancel every unconstitutional executive action, memorandum, and order issued by President Obama. Begin the process of selecting a replacement for Justice Scalia. We're going to end Common Core and bring education supervision to local communities. End Illegal Immigration Act. Fully funds the construction of a wall on our southern border. Don't worry about it. Remember, I said Mexico's paying for the wall. With the full understanding that the country of Mexico will be reimbursing the United States for the full cost of such a wall. Okay?
Senior national correspondent John Roberts is live with the Trump campaign in Cleveland tonight. And boy, what a crowd you got behind you.
They've got a big crowd. The campaign is estimating at 10,000. I talked to a local police lieutenant here, said it's more around 5. There'll be arguments back and forth as to how many people there are here, but suffice it to say, Julie, there are a lot of people who are in attendance here in Cleveland tonight to see Donald Trump. Mayor Rudy Giuliani on the stage right now warming up the crowd. What you heard in Gettysburg were policy proposals that Donald Trump has laid out in either big formal policy speeches or in more informal rallies over the last few months, all wrapped together into a single, what he called, contract for the American voter that he hopes over the next 16 days will erase his deficit in the polls and propel him to victory on November the 8th. But in laying out his vision for where he wants to take America, he did something that I've never seen any other presidential candidate do, and that was to threaten legal action against both the opposing party and these 11 women who have come forward in recent weeks to accuse him of inappropriate sexual behavior. Here's why Trump said he was going to do that. Listen.
If they can fight somebody like me, who has unlimited resources to fight back, just look at what they can do to you, your jobs, your security, your education, your health care, the violation of religious liberty, the theft of your Second Amendment.
Crime going up again.
Now, Donald Trump is making the case that the establishment will say or do anything to maintain its grip on power and deny his movement and all of his followers from ever taking the Oval Office. Julie?
Okay, and while you're sitting there as a member of the press, maybe you can answer this next question, because Donald Trump apparently is taking his war with the media to a new level.
40%.
Yeah, it's no secret that he's not exactly happy with what he calls the mainstream or the corporate media. And this morning, when he was laying out his contract for the American voter in Gettysburg, he also took aim at the proposed AT&T Time Warner merger. Time Warner has CNN as part of its stable. It's worth some $86 billion. It's being voted on by the boards at this moment. He says that he wouldn't let something like that go through, and he also took aim at another major corporate media merger that occurred a couple of years ago. Listen to what Trump said about that in Gettysburg.
AT&T is buying Time Warner and thus CNN a deal we will not approve in my administration because it's too much concentration of power in the hands of too few. Additionally, Comcast's purchase of NBC concentrates far too much power in one massive entity that is trying to tell the voters what to think and what to do. Deals like this destroy democracy. And we'll look at breaking that deal up.
Now threatening to either break up an existing conglomerate or threatening to block a proposed merger would tend to put Donald Trump more in the camp of Bernie Sanders than in the Republican Party. But his crowd is firmly on his side when it comes to taking on the media, Julie. So anything he says that's against corporate mainstream media, his followers are just going to eat up. Back to you.
And we are not part of that group, the mainstream media. I just want to throw that out there. All right, John Roberts, thank you very much. Before Donald Trump's VP pick joined him in Cleveland, Mike Pence made a trip to small-town Ohio to campaign while checking out some prize-winning pumpkins. That is right. It is October, after all. Check out this great video. We're told Pence actually climbed into a flatbed trailer to check out this 1,500-pound pumpkins, a bunch of pumpkins in that trailer, and a VP nominee. No word whether the folks got the carve the pumpkins, but nonetheless a good photo op. And now turning to the Democrats. Hillary Clinton campaigning today in the battleground state of Pennsylvania, a critical state where she leads by 6 points, by the way, by the latest Real Clear Politics poll. Clinton is now headed to Philadelphia for an event tonight after holding a rally earlier today in Pittsburgh with her running mate, Tim Kaine, where she vowed to protect workers' rights. She threw her support behind the Democrat running for Senate and, of course, slammed Donald Trump.
Donald Trump did something the other night no other presidential nominee has ever done of either party. He refused to say that he would respect the results of this election. Now, make no mistake about this, my friends. He is threatening our democracy. Look, I've lost elections. You don't feel very good the next day, believe me. But we know in our country the difference between leadership and dictatorship. The peaceful transition of power is one of those things that sets us apart.
Mike Emanuel, live in Philadelphia tonight. So, Mike, what more did Clinton have to say a short time ago in Pittsburgh?
Well, Julie, good evening to you. Hillary Clinton suggested to her supporters that they should do an intervention if they have friends or family considering voting for Donald Trump. As you just heard, Clinton also attacked Trump for not being willing to accept the election results. Clinton and her running mate Tim Kaine are campaigning together here in battleground Pennsylvania with 20 critical electoral votes on the line. It is rare to see them together on the campaign trail. Tells you how important they see Pennsylvania. And Clinton fired back at a recent attack made by Donald Trump.
Every time Donald Trump says he wants to jail his opponent, meaning me, I think to myself, you know, we don't do that in America. We actually have laws and courts and an independent judiciary.
Clinton said there is anger out there in the voting public. She acknowledged that, but she said anger is not a plan. And she said in this election, the choice, particularly on the economy, is stark. Julie?
Yeah, a fact, though, is that anger is really fueling a lot of votes out there. People want change. I mean, they're tired of the same old. But today, Hillary is actually campaigning alongside her running mate, Tim Kaine. What was his pitch today?
Well, Kaine picked up on the whole notion of whether Donald Trump will accept the outcome of this election on November 8th. And Kaine said that is un-American.
He's gotten to the end of campaign and he's insulted every possible group. Who's left to insult? What he's decided is, why don't I insult the pillars of American democracy?
This evening is the first time that Kaine will fly on Hillary Clinton's campaign plane, flying together from Pittsburgh here to Philadelphia for an event later this evening. Julie?
All right, another critical state, Florida. And Clinton had a VIP surrogate there on her behalf. Who was that?
Well, that's right. 29 electoral votes up for grabs there in the Sunshine State. And her husband, the former president, made this appeal on his wife's behalf.
Look, I know we're getting close to the end of this election, And I think it's important that all of us who support her get out there and try to get some more votes and try to stop all this poison that's been poured down the throat of America in the last 15 years.
For the Democratic nominee, Hillary Clinton, tonight it is Pennsylvania, tomorrow North Carolina, and you better believe she'll be in Florida before long. Julie?
Interestingly, 3 states that seem to be swinging in her favor as of now, but of course anything could change. Mike Emanuel, thank you very much. And don't miss Fox News Sunday. We're going to have both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton's campaign managers, Kellyanne Conway and Robbie Mook on. This should be interesting. For times in your local area, you better check your listings. Can't wait to see that. Well, now to Iraq and the fight to liberate Mosul. The fight raging in the north. ISIS launching attacks in the city of Kirkuk, a move that U.S. officials say was an attempt to divert the opposition away from the Battle of Mosul. Well, the push to drive out ISIS continues, but it does reveal more about how the terror army operates. And we are getting an inside look at a network of tunnels dug under ISIS strongholds. Benjamin Hall has more from Erbil, Iraq.
Julie, today in a Fox exclusive, we found and got access to an ISIS tunnel which has been causing so many problems for the forces here. Many people wondered how ISIS was able to withstand and hide from the US-led coalition airstrikes. Well, this is how. They've dug deep underground. These tunnels are a key element of ISIS military strategy, and they cover every town, every village that ISIS held. For the last few weeks, if not the last few months, ISIS will have been living down in these tunnels, and so you can see that they've brought in electricity, you can see the food they've got down here, and you can see the water. It is incredibly hot, and they will have been here for months. The Kurdish Peshmerga have cleared this tunnel, but they've also told us not to touch anything that we see because it may be booby-trapped. We're the first journalists to see this tunnel, and you can tell how they've started. They've dug straight down for 7.5 meters before then cutting their way through the bedrock. It's those tunnels which are said to be one of the biggest concerns as forces move towards the city of Mosul itself, which is said to be covered with them. In other news today, Secretary of Defense Ash Carter paid a surprise visit to Iraq, meeting with Prime Minister Abadi to assess the progress in Mosul, but also to push for Turkey to be allowed to play a greater role in the operation. Meanwhile, a burning sulfur plant south of Mosul, torched by ISIS on Thursday, is releasing large amounts of sulfur dioxide into the air. US Central Command says US troops at bases outside Mosul have been putting on gas masks and protective suits to protect against the smoke. And one of the fears all along has been that ISIS will use chemicals or gas to attack. We do know that they have them. Julie?
Benjamin Hall, thank you. Right now, figuring out how hackers shut down dozens of major websites all across the U.S. The attack may have actually affected one of your favorite sites. So how did it happen, and how can we stop it in the future? And a manhunt underway at this hour after a deadly home invasion. We have much more straight ahead. A manhunt underway in Georgia after a gunman shot and killed 2 children during a violent home invasion. It happened in Jonesboro, south of Atlanta. Police say the suspects broke into this home early this morning and then shot an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old. Several other children were also inside at the time. Now, one of the young witnesses who were there called 911 to report the break-in and the shooting. We're told the other children were not hurt and no adults were home at the time. Investigators say the parents are cooperating. Well, the White House calling yesterday's disruption of the internet malicious. You probably noticed several major websites were affected, like Twitter and Netflix. Hackers, in fact, in China and, guess where, Russia, claim responsibility for the attacks, which also hit a company that provides traffic management for those sites. This is scary stuff. Brian Yennis has more on the fallout here in studio with me. So what happened?
I mean, it sounds like a sci-fi cyber novel or movie, but experts say hackers infiltrated tens of millions of smart items in your home. Things like webcams, baby monitors, DVRs, thermostats, and they took control of these things and then rerouted their data to servers, overloading them with junk internet traffic until those servers crashed under their own weight. It's called a DDoS, or distributed denial of service attack. The outages began on the eastern seaboard, as you see there, and by the end of the day reached the west coast. The attack knocked out really dozens of websites like Amazon, Netflix, Airbnb, Twitter, Reddit, Spotify, and PayPal for hours. The attack targeted Dyn, a company whose servers act as a switchboard which guides internet traffic and provides internet services to some of America's biggest companies. And experts say the hackers used an easy-to-use and malicious software called Mirai. And as you said, the White House says they believe this was malicious and the investigation's ongoing. Julie.
No, it's really scary. I tried to use PayPal yesterday and it didn't work. And that is how I do a lot of my shopping on every website. So it doesn't just affect PayPal. It affects hundreds of websites where you can pay using this website. Now, has anyone claimed responsibility?
Well, you had mentioned the Russian and Chinese hackers, and it's a hacker group with hackers based in Russia and China called the New World Hackers. And they tell the Associated Press that they carried the attack out to highlight how vulnerable we are. The group saying, quote, "We didn't do this to attract federal agents, only to test power." Now, this claim has not been confirmed, and the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are still investigating if this was perpetrated by a government like Russia or China, or if this was a group of independent hackers. Other experts warn this could have been a distraction while an actual attack was taking place, or this could be the beginning of a larger conspiracy.
Because there was no extortion demand related to the denial of service attack, which is typical, and because of the widespread nature of the attack and the amount of data that was unleashed and the duration of which these sites were taken down, this could be a precursor for a larger cyber crime or cyber espionage campaign.
Now, given what we've seen with the recent Wikileaks email dumps and Russian hackers trying to influence our electoral process, the investigation will surely look into any possible connection to that. But scary. There are billions of smart items in our homes now that can be apparently hacked and controlled by these guys.
No,
it's a scary thing.
A very scary thing, because this could be a test for something bigger.
Or a distraction.
You never know.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a pretty massive hack. All right, Brian Yanis, thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.
So early voting is on the rise with just 17 days until the election. In fact, it's a good way to beat the crowds, right? Not so fast. One state reporting major backups at the polls. And gone, but not forgotten. Comedian Kevin Meaney has died. A look at his legacy of laughter. A Fox News alert and two very different rallies. In fact, on the right, you've got Donald Trump. He is in Cleveland, Ohio. Ohio, a battleground state. Not only a battleground state, but a key state for the Republican ticket. A Republican, in order to make it into the White House, needs Ohio. He is leading in Ohio, and Hillary is trailing. Meantime, on the left, you're looking at an airplane where Hillary Clinton and staff are headed from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. She's in the critical battleground state of Pennsylvania. Also a state, in fact, where she is leading by 6 points, according to the latest Real Clear Politics average poll. Suburban women in Philadelphia, that has been a talk right now as to who gets those. Right now, they are playing in Hillary's favor. That is one group of voters this election needs and this candidate needs in order to win the state of Pennsylvania. So on the left, Hillary Clinton going from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. On the right, Donald Trump holding a campaign rally in Cleveland, Ohio, where he leads. So right now they're in their preferred states, at least for now. We'll continue to watch this as these two candidates are very busy, up and running on the campaign trail with just weeks to go before November 8th, the big day. By the way, early voting. You don't have to wait until November 8th to vote. In fact, early voting is surging as we count down to November 8th. As of today, in fact, more than 5.3 million votes have been cast, far ahead of what we actually saw at this time in 2012. Now, many voters are saying that they just want to get it over with. Others, of course, they want to avoid those long lines. But their plan actually may be backfiring because, well, many areas like Hamilton County, for example, in Indiana, are actually reporting wait times topping 2 hours, similar to what we would expect on Election Day. Trevor Shirley with 59 News has more.
Earlier today here at the Carmel Clay Public Library, early voting lines were clocking in at just around 2 hours. And county elections officials say that's what early voters should plan on expecting between now and Election Day. And because of that, they're asking voters to pack their patience and plan ahead. Long lines are what we've come to expect on Election Day, but seeing this almost 3 weeks early is a real surprise for a lot of voters.
I think they're trying to get one leg up on it and just avoid the crowds and get their vote in and sit back and watch the show, you know.
Here at the Carmel Public Library today, people waited more than 2 hours to cast their vote. Despite the wait, some say they'd rather suffer the long lines now.
Like, oh my gosh, I must be, if the line's this long today, I thought it's going to be 10 times longer on Election Day.
Numbers show it's a given. More people turn out to vote whenever the presidency is up for grabs. But this year's unprecedented campaign season could easily spur even more people to vote.
We knew it was going to be a heavy turnout.
Hamilton County Elections Administrator Kathy Richardson says absentee ballot numbers are already up from 4 years ago. But she tells me there's only so much her office can do to keep wait times low.
We only have a certain amount of allotted voting machines. We actually leased extra voting machines, got the last ones our company had, so we'll try to do the best we can.
Voters are being urged to be patient and plan ahead. Be sure you're registered before coming out and make sure you bring that photo ID when you come to your polling location.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, but you know, you got to get through the line eventually, so.
Now keep in mind, you can't just show up at any polling location between now and Election Day and expect to cast your vote early. There are specific early voting locations and times that you need to be aware of. And also keep in mind, those vary county by county. Your best bet at this point is to go online or call your local elections office for the latest information. Reporting in Hamilton County, I'm Trevor Shirley, Fox 59 News.
Trevor, thank you. By the way, balloting is underway in 34 out of 37 early voting states. Hillary Clinton hitting the campaign trail today, but Wikileaks continuing to cause problems with just 17 days to go before Election Day. Why Clinton's camp says today the organization made a clear endorsement for Trump. Plus, disturbing new rhetoric from Russia as the war raging on in Syria continues. What Russian officials are saying about the fighting there. Hillary Clinton speaking to reporters on the way from one campaign event to another in Pennsylvania. Let's play it.
Today, we're making our closing argument. We're talking about what's at stake in the election. We're drawing contrasts, but we're giving people something to vote for, not just against. And I saw where our opponent, Donald Trump, went to Gettysburg, one of the most extraordinary places in American history, and basically said if he's president, he'll spend his time suing women who have made charges against him based on his behavior. Tim and I are going to keep talking about what we want to do if we're given the great honor of serving as president and vice president. And as we said in the book we put out together, Stronger Together, we have very specific plans, and we're going to get to work the day after the election and do everything.
She is on her way to an event later tonight in Philadelphia with her vice presidential pick, Senator Kaine. Meantime, Donald Trump is holding a rally with running mate Mike Pence in Cleveland, Ohio. Let's listen briefly.
This is her allies saying this. The emails also show her staff saying she has no core. She has no core. That's because she just does whatever her donors and special interests want her to do. We're not too happy with her, I will tell you. Look, it's a rigged system. That's how she got to run. It's a rigged system. The whole entire purpose of her campaign is to keep our system rigged and to stop change from happening at any cost. And we need change. We are about change. She is about keeping it the way it is. And we don't want to have 4 more years of Obama. That we can tell you. Just take a look at her record. She's been there, think of this. She's been there for 30 years and hasn't fixed anything. She's unleashed death, destruction, and failure in every country she touched in the Middle East. Iraq, Libya, Syria, Iran. Hillary's catastrophic failures unleashed ISIS, right? The great vacuum that she and Obama created, which is now on a campaign of genocide against Christians in the Middle East and all over the world. They're in 32 countries. When they started, during her tenure as Secretary of State, when they started as a little group. Remember the JV? Obama called them the JV. They're now in 32 countries, and now I watch as Hillary Clinton says, I'm going to stop ISIS. Why didn't she stop it in the first place?
Okay, so there you go. There's Donald Trump. He is actually in Cleveland, Ohio, where he is getting a lead up on Hillary Clinton. She's in Pennsylvania, where she happens to be leading. And as you heard me, as my mic was turned back up, I believe Hillary Clinton, and we're going to confirm this, is going to North Carolina next, where she is in fact leading. So they've got all these critical states that they need to win over, especially those undecideds. So you got Florida and North Carolina, which right now, it's neck and neck. You've got Ohio, where, of course, Donald Trump desperately needs that state, and he's speaking tonight, and where he does have a lead there. And then you've got Hillary Clinton in Pennsylvania. And this is just now going to continue with more and more of these rallies happening now that the 3 debates are over. And so now they have a very small window to convince any of those voters out there who still don't know who they're voting for come November 8th. And by the way, if I didn't say it already, Fox News Sunday tomorrow, you got to tune in, because both of their campaign advisors, their campaign spokespeople are going to be speaking. So both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton will have their representatives speaking tomorrow. So it'll be interesting what they have to say. Meantime, WikiLeaks. Hillary Clinton, more bad news for her, tweeting today about their Clinton email hack, saying that had they gotten the emails sooner, voters would actually be choosing between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders on Election Day. This, as a newly obtained video, shows the Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton lecturing her staff on the importance of cybersecurity, despite questions about her very own use of a private server as Secretary of State. Molly Henneberg is live in Washington tonight. So, Molly, what did Clinton tell State Department employees?
Hi, Julie. She told them to follow the rules when it comes to emails and computers. This was long before the nation knew about Hillary Clinton had her own private email server when she was Secretary of State. Here's a video from 2010 obtained by FoxNews.com.
I think this is a responsibility that we share as Americans, but as State Department employees, we have a special duty to guard ourselves and our sensitive information. Potential hackers use all kinds of strategies to exploit cyber vulnerabilities and to penetrate the department's systems.
As Fox News has reported previously, an internal 2011 State Department cable shows Clinton's office once told employees not to use personal email for security reasons. Julie?
And Molly, a lot more WikiLeaks emails released this week. And now WikiLeaks says that it actually had, those emails, but had they had them earlier, this may have been a much different election.
Yes, some of the new WikiLeaks documents describe, for example, foreign money coming into the Clinton Global Initiative. That's Clinton's family charity, including $12 million from the King of Morocco in exchange for the charity holding a meeting in Morocco in 2015. Huma Abedin, Clinton's top aide, emails advisors saying, quote, the condition upon which the Moroccans agreed to host the meeting was her participation. If HRC, that's Hillary Rodham Clinton, was not part of it, meeting was a non-starter. CGI, that's the Clinton Global Initiative, also wasn't pushing for a meeting in Morocco, and it wasn't their first choice. This was HRC's idea. Meanwhile, a tweet from WikiLeaks today suggests these hacked emails could have made a difference in the Democratic primary, saying, quote, leak early, leak often. If WikiLeaks had obtained Clinton emails earlier, U.S. voters could have chosen Sanders v. Trump. So do it now. In response, Clinton's National Press Secretary Brian Fallon tweeted, quote, WikiLeaks makes its Trump endorsement official. Not that it was a secret prior to now. The Clinton campaign says Russia is behind the email hack, but Donald Trump says Clinton has, quote, no idea who's behind the hack, and says the Morocco emails suggest, quote, more pay for play by Clinton. Julie?
Molly Hannenberg in Washington tonight. Thank you so much, Molly. Fresh rhetoric coming from Russia on the Syrian civil war. And now a spokesperson for Vladimir Putin's office says the entire territory of Syria must be, quote, liberated, and called demands for the exit of Syrian President Bashar Assad, quote, thoughtless. That comes as Syrian government forces pound Aleppo once more, raining shells down on neighborhoods under the control of rebel fighters. The Russian official says President Assad should stay in power to keep the country from falling into the hands of extremists. A comedian known for his stand-up work and late-night TV appearances has died. Kevin Meaney. He got his start with an HBO special 30 years ago and then began appearing on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show shortly afterward. Meaney had a small role alongside Tom Hanks in the blockbuster movie Big. Then he starred in the sitcom Uncle Buck. Meaney's agent says he was found dead at his home in New York State with no word yet on a cause. Comedian Kevin Meaney was 60 years old. Flash flooding, leaving drivers stranded. Officials warning others to stay off the road, and we are going to show you where this mess is all happening. And then there's this. Wrong time, wrong place? We'll report, let you decide. A singer kneels as she performs the national anthem at an NBA game. Her reason for doing it, plus the team's response. Welcome back to the Fox Report. A singer stages her own protest during her performance of the national anthem. How she did it. Let's watch. So her shirt was buttoned up. She gets down on one knee. She reveals that she's actually wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt under her jacket. And so she kneels as she's saying before the NBA matchup between the Heat and 76ers. Anita Vogel has more from our West Coast newsroom. Hey, Anita.
Well, hi there, Julie. You know, she's actually a part-time employee with the Heat. Her name is Denasia Lawrence, and she says she decided to kneel while singing because she wanted to make a social statement about Black Lives Matter. She took to her Facebook page and wrote this, quote, I didn't get paid to sing the national anthem, nor was this moment about any sort of fame. Black Lives Matter is far larger than a hashtag. It's a rallying cry, and until our cry is rightfully heard, protests will still happen and demands will still be made. Now, Lawrence is not the first person to make this kind of protest. Earlier this month, singer Leah Ticey dropped to one knee at the end of the national anthem at a Sacramento Kings game. She said she was also protesting about social injustice. Julie.
And so any reaction from the Miami Heat?
There was. In fact, after the game, the coach was asked about it during a post-game press conference, and here's what he had to say.
The most important thing that has come out of this is very poignant, thoughtful dialogue. We've had great dialogue within our walls here, and hopefully this will lead to action.
Now, as far as we know, all the players on both teams, the Heat and the 76ers, continue to stand through the anthem. And in fact, just yesterday, the NBA commissioner said he really hoped players would continue to stand for the anthem. He called that the appropriate thing to do. Julie, back to you.
Anita Vogel in Los Angeles, thank you very much. Joining us now for more on this, sportscaster and Fox News contributor Jim Gray. Jim, thank you very much for talking to us. First of all, what's the overall reaction to her taking this political moment to make a political statement at an NBA game?
The overall reaction amongst NBA players and executives and owners that I have spoken to is not good, because it's shedding a light now on their game. Up until now, no NBA players had taken a knee. The NBA players did get together. They have discussed what it is that they would like to do so that they can continue this social form of justice and move forward. It started with LeBron James and Chris Paul. and Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony at the ESPY Awards when they got up and made their statement before the program. However, NBA Commissioner has said, and it was just reported by Anita yesterday, that he had hoped that this would not go on. And he doesn't believe going forward that it will go on, but they are going to come together and that the NBA is best situated to deal with these social issues and make social change, but not through this. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, before she walked back her comments just last week, said that this is disrespectful and dumb. Well, everybody came pouring in on her, and then she became more sympathetic after that.
Wrong time, wrong place. And now what happens to this girl? I mean, is she going to be banned from future games? Is there any punishment? Because, again, this is an NBA game, and when people go to watch an NBA game, they are going there to watch basketball.
I do not know what will happen to Miss Lawrence. That is yet, I guess, to be determined. She is free to do what she wants to do. However, she's an employee of the club, and she does not inform the club.
Well, that's the thing. She's an
what
employee.
it is that she is doing.
So, I mean, usually when you do something at work,
she said she wasn't paid. She said she wasn't paid for it, but she's paid by the club if she's a part-time employee. And this doesn't speak for the club, so I'm sure that there will be some sort of repercussion for it. Exactly what that will be, who knows, because I'm sure that the Heat do not want to antagonize those who think that social change and social justice needs to occur. But through these actions, look, there are a lot of ways that you could accomplish something. This does not seem to be the best way to go about it, by not informing your employer of your actions, of what you're going to do.
Right.
And if you look at the polls of what have been taken from fans and surveys across the country, the fans are overwhelmingly against this. They don't like it, and it's being blamed in some circles for having a decrease in ratings and people watching the National Football League because of what Colin Kaepernick and some others across the National Football League are doing.
Yeah, sports and politics, not a good mix. Jim Gray, thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie.
A surprise of a lifetime. These videos. A Fox News alert on a huge merger that promises to shake up the media landscape. AT&T has agreed to buy Time Warner in a deal worth $86 billion. The merger gives AT&T control over channels like HBO and CNN and whatever you watch on those channels. Company leaders approving the deal today. The Federal Communications Commission signing off on the merger as well. Extreme weather across the Northeast as heavy rain drenches the region, flooding roads and streets across many communities. And this here is not a river, it's actually a street in Massachusetts where these storms actually prompted flash flood warnings all across the state. Many of these cars completely submerged in water. The city of Worcester getting more than 5 inches, and people were asked to stay off the roads. No matter, though, there were still several reports of cars stuck in the water because some people just don't like to listen to the rules. But luckily, no word of anyone hurt. Let's end this newscast with an uplifting story, can we? And the surprise one little boy never saw coming. Fox 35 WOFL's Kelly Joyce has this rejoiceful story.
Pride Elementary School in Deltona is like one big family, and today that family put on quite a surprise party for 5-year-old Pearson Fantuzzi. He thought he was going to an assembly to honor kids with perfect attendance. Thank you all for coming out. And to honor members of the military, since Veterans Day is right around the corner. Little does Pearson know, his dad, who's been away for 4 years in active duty, is behind this door, about ready to walk out on stage.
We have a very special veteran.
And these 11 women who have come forward in recent weeks to accuse him of inappropriate sexual behavior. Here's why Trump said he was going to do that. Listen.
This is an election. If they can fight somebody like me, who has unlimited resources to fight back, just look at what they can do to you, your jobs, your security, your education, your health care, the violation of religious liberty, the theft of your Second Amendment.
Crime going up again. Now, Donald Trump is making the case that the establishment will say or do anything to maintain its grip on power and deny his movement and all of his followers from ever taking the Oval Office. Julie?
Okay, and while you're sitting there as a member of the press, maybe you can answer this next question, because Donald Trump apparently is taking his war with the and Pennsylvania. This morning, he was in historic Gettysburg, where he unveiled his 100-day plan for a Trump White House. And should he be sworn in as president come January, here are his plans.
First, a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Second, a hiring freeze on all federal employees to reduce federal workforce through attrition, exempting military, public safety, and public health. A requirement that for every new federal regulation, 2 existing regulations must be eliminated. A 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials becoming lobbyists after they leave government service. Cancel every unconstitutional executive.
A Fox News alert, Donald Trump holding a rally with running mate Mike Pence in Cleveland. And Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump doing battle in the battleground states as the days tick down to Election Day. And good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Banderas, and this is the Fox Report. Clinton appeared this afternoon in Pittsburgh alongside her running mate, Tim Kaine, which, by the way, these two have not made an appearance together in some 6 weeks. Today, a critical day for her. Right now, we are awaiting Donald Trump's remarks at a rally in Cleveland with his running mate, Mike Pence, and that'll make it his 3rd battleground state of the day, along with Virginia.
Action, memorandum, and order issued by President Obama. Begin the process of selecting a replacement for Justice Scalia. We're going to end Common Core and bring education supervision to local communities. End Illegal Immigration Act. Fully funds the construction of a wall on our southern border. Don't worry about it. Remember, I said Mexico's paying for the wall. With the full understanding that the country of Mexico will be reimbursing the United States for the full cost of such a wall. Okay?
Senior national correspondent John Roberts is live with the Trump campaign in Cleveland tonight. And boy, what a crowd you got behind you.
They've got a big crowd. The campaign is estimating at 10,000. I talked to a local police lieutenant here, said it's more around 5. There'll be arguments back and forth as to how many people there are here, but suffice it to say, Julie, there are a lot of people who are in attendance here in Cleveland tonight to see Donald Trump. Mayor Rudy Giuliani on the stage right now warming up the crowd. What you heard in Gettysburg were policy proposals that Donald Trump has laid out in either big formal policy speeches or in more informal rallies over the last few months, all wrapped together into a single what he called contract for the American voter that he hopes over the next 16 days will erase his deficit in the polls and propel him to victory on November the 8th. But in laying out his vision for where he wants to take America, he did something that I've never seen any other presidential candidate do, and that was to threaten legal action against both the opposing party